Hello, all CK here from Caramel Sugar Evil, and we are back with the Path to Unpunishable. If you remember, I was developing it from an art book to a devotional that would have the components for the cards, and what will end up being the bones of the game system that I'm developing. And I promised that when the time came, I would come back and start another series as we explore the cards. And um, so I'm back. And instead of laying them out in order like it did the last time when I created them, I decided to break it down by the four realms which we interact with our physical world, which is also an overlay of the lens. That's empathy, truth, kindness, joy, and anti-greed. So the lens itself, it travels through every realm. And when we're looking at these realms, empathy asks what happened and what is needed from a very human point of view. Truth identifies the patterns without distortion. And then kindness governs the use of power. And when you have those, you cannot help but feel joy, which is the returning of life. And just an aside, this is what I'm feeling right now. I feel as if I am returning back to the life that I was supposed to have. And it feels good. And anti greed refuses extraction, ownership, or manufactured scarcity. Anti greed is the space where a lot of people will try to hurt or ridicule or pretend as if they don't see anything to make you feel like something's wrong. And I've been encountering that for the last week or so. Actually, I've been encountering that ever since August 1st, where people will act like, well, nothing has happened to me, so you're wrong. And there's been more than one person who has tried to kind of antagonize me on that. And I find it kind of sad. And I'll get into the more into that as I start talking about faith because those two go hand in hand. But the lens altogether help hunters distinguish a threat from a wound, a defense from intention, and care from control, right? So, with that, let's get into the first realm. It's faith, belonging without possession. And according to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, faith is the assured expectation of things hoped for, the evident demonstration of realities though not beheld. And through faith, hunters confront the unseen with trust, doctrine, witness, belonging, and holy conviction. And this translation of Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 comes from the New World Translation. As many of you know, I was raised one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I love this translation of the scripture because it kind of grounds it. It takes it out of the spooky booky woo woo type faith that a lot of Christians will have you imagine, and it grounds it into I have faith in God based on what He has done. From the Bible, from the very beginning, He has shown who He is, how He acts, right? At His best and at His worst. Because, yes, God does have a best and worst. He gets to judge that, He gets to determine that, and He does. Because He is loving and merciful and humble, though He is the Most High God. And that's one of the things I love most about God is that He gives us proof with which to trust Him. And so when He says that I want you to warn people because they're going to engage in acts that's going to hurt people, you listen, you tell, you do. When I'm told that from August of 2025 to August 2026 will be events that need to be set up to deploy a time of punishment from August 2026 to August 2027, you believe them. You believe him. And then when the things that he says would happen will actually happen, even if you only see the highlights, you understand you're on the right path. And that's what a lot of people really don't understand, is the reason why I am in such a good place is because the things that I was told have happened. Whether you were told that these things were going to happen, because a lot of the folks who are trying to give me difficulty now are getting this information from people who actually know me, actually believe me, actually have witnessed these things happen, but want to deny it and use people to throw at me as fodder, as human shields, thinking that um, if they can get me down or depressed or upset or acting out of character or crashing out, then they don't have to face what's coming. And that's simply not true. The only thing that they are doing is getting innocent people wrapped up in a situation that is far beyond their understanding. Also, these are the same people who they are telling people who are ignorant. Let's just say it. They're telling people who are ignorant of the situation what they want to believe, but no one is actually talking to me. And that's the sad part. A lot of people will try to manipulate information out of me, but no one will actually sit down and ask. And then they want to act like a victim. I don't know why. I don't know why they're ignoring me. It's because you're not acting in good faith. And I have no obligation to deal with you if you're not acting in good faith. I'm just going to let what happens happen. So let's get back into this. Faith is a realm that has a lot to do with belonging, covenant, community, and the worth of life. It asks hunters to see the world not as a marketplace for usefulness, but as a household where care carries obligations without becoming control. Through empathy, we recognize why people cling to approval and harmful bonds and closed hands. I understand why you do these things and why it's important for you to do those things. I truly understand that because the truth of the matter is horrifying. And I also understand that you're trying to survive separation from the identity that you have spent so much time, energy, money, and resources to build around you for yourself and for others. And empathy helps us approach these monsters within us and outside of us without copying cruelty. We're trying to do it without being cruel because cruelty now has consequences. Truth keeps faith from becoming denial. And what I mean is, it explicitly names things like manipulation, false charity, spiritual coercion, and every demand that disguises domination as devotion. When I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, one adage was, we don't question the elders, which I always thought was bullshit because God in the Bible asks us to question him. Taste and see if I am good, he says, right? The entire book of James is about discernment and not just going blindly. And it's become more and more evident, especially in this last 20 years of my spiritual work, that manipulation is often disguised as faith. And the penalty of quote unquote not having faith is not having a community. One, this community that solidifies your identity as a good person. B, um, this has to do more with money and resources and status, right? If I'm not faithful enough, I don't have the status, and people will look down on me. And in this community, if people look down on me, they have agreed that I can be tormented and they can act cruel to me without consequence. And that is not what faith is. That's going back to false charity and spiritual coercion. Devotion means that I am dedicated to this path. It doesn't mean I'm going to listen to everybody because they have a penis or they have a robe or they have more money or I won't be able to go to whatever function this is. That is not faith, right? Faith is trusting in God. Faith is trusting in one another because there is a consistent pattern of trustworthiness. Kindness gives all of this shape. It protects the wounded and it protects the joyous because there is more than one person I have seen in this situation, in our space, in our midst, that will persecute you just because you're having a good time and you're joyful. I was talking to a woman recently about the fact that my spiritual team had changed. And this is a woman who just objectively denied knowing who I was, even though her questions always tried to pull out, was always used to try to pull out information. But she herself denied knowing who I was. And I was just talking about the things that are coming to me and how the shape of my spiritual team are coming. How the shape of my spiritual team is changing for the good. I am sorry about my words here. And her response was to scoff and it's like, what is this? What is this about this team? And I understood immediately that she just didn't like the fact that I was being joyful about something that was good in my life. And I had to stop her and just be like, oh, that's right, you don't know me, so I'm just going to end this conversation. And there's a lot of people who cannot or will not do that because talking to someone like that, setting a boundary like that, and denying them the joy they get from feeling like they're in control, they would fear that, oh, I would lose something I want. I would lose community. I would lose joy or protection. But having faith and having true faith in God tells you, I can stand up to these type of people and the Lord himself will give me the calm I need, the validation I need, the stability I need to continue in this work. And I think that's why kindness is the most important because, like I said, it protects the wounded and it offers repair. And it reminds you that mercy doesn't require renewed access. You don't have to sit up there and snuff up somebody's butt or to kowtow to keep this very fragile and insecure identity stable. You don't have to do that when you have true faith in God. And joy is faith evidence that life can be inhabitable. Or if you're going through a hard time, it can be inhabitable again. Being okay and being stable and being happy and being joyful it's always there and it's always attainable. It appears in the dark like a candle that's still burning, the hand that is always open to you. It's the feeling of building a house within yourself, doing those renovations. You see something wrong, you pull it out, and yes, it's ugly for a while, but you know, because you have a sure expectation that if you lay this board right here, you put the nails right there, you cut maybe once, maybe many times until you get it right and set it in. And if you put it in piece by piece, you'll have the home that you need, right? It's the testimony that survives erasure. There's a lot of people who want to erase it because looking at it will show that what they have is not secure or stable or even real. And anti-greed guards this by refusing relationships that hoard care, that purchase or require obedience or turn generosity into debt. You owe me. So, monster hunters who are faithful defend people from corrupted belonging, from those empty thrones and burden collectors, the false prophets. And a lot of people think I am one, but once again, my reputation precedes me, and my reputation is solid. And other powers that weaponize need or even desire. The slime hunters practice a gentler discipline. They study responsiveness and boundaries, transparency, not in the slime body, but being very honest about why you're hunting this particular type of slime, and nourishment, and learning that softness can be strong without being possessive. And it also can be strong without being permissive. Slimes are very squishy, but they are very, very powerful. Okay? Faith changes our vision by asking, does this bond help my life to flourish? And it's a deep question because a lot of people, we hold on to things because it's familiar, not because it flourishes. A faithful hunter does not rescue in order to own or in order to say you owe me. They do not give in order to control or witness in order to be the center of your life. They carry light. They keep their hearts tender and build conditions where every person can belong without surrendering themselves. And for the 6 cards in the realm, we're going to be using the Chain of Favors. That's card number 4. Card number 6, the Bound Heart. Card number 8, the Light Bearer. Card 20, the Open Hand. Card 21, the Inner Home. And card 22, the Witness. And because I'm recording this before I'm writing the article, I didn't put the actual playing card suit number there, and I will in the article. So look out for that. And in the next couple of days, we'll be talking about the Chain of Favors. And you can see the changes that I made to the artwork, but also the other cards associated with them. Until then, to the hunt.